Just hearing that, it's so moving and it's so sobering. And it makes me realize how easily this could have been a story of sheer terror, of sheer kind of uncomprehension and terror. But you suffuse this story with so much optimism and so much childlike. I mean, you really preserve that point of view of the 9-year-old, both that kind of uncomprehension and misunderstanding, but then those funny little 9-year-old isms, the first crush and the schoolyard dynamics. And it was clearly important to you that you balance all of those tonal dynamics throughout the movie.
Well, you analyze it very interestingly because one of the challenges, I think, for anybody writing about Ireland, I think there is this sort of tremendous weight of history that says somehow you have to acknowledge, respect, and revere the long historical struggles across many episodes of history and many warring factions. And it's so impossible. It's many greater minds than I have struggled to do this, certainly in the context of a play or a film, and books struggle to do the same thing, although some have done magnificently. I knew here that the child's point of view was key because although what you say is right about how one could have chosen to characterize this with that terror infusing the tone of the film, it of course, with the adrenaline and the cortisol levels sky high, seeing the street transformed like that also had a level of excitement. It was different. And I mean, later on, we were going to see an armored car. I mean, and a tank come up the street. I mean, these were, so I'd seen a John Wayne film the night before with playing the Red Berets or something, and then suddenly it's in your street. And of course, very quickly that becomes absurd and surreal. So it can get it's so extreme that it can become funny, partly because you are almost hysterical. So I think you're very close to tears and you're very close to hysterical laughter as well. This was something Kieran Hines, who plays Pop and who lived half a mile away from me, said that for a day or two it seemed like the most incredible fun, the most exciting adventure, and then the hangover really kicked in. But when I thought about should this film be more political, I thought, well, what did politics mean to the 9-year-old me? Well, it would have meant more middle-aged men in suits on television talking. And I don't know that that helped me understand politics or life back then. What I understood by politics was that my access to my own street was restricted, that I was being subtly encouraged to potentially do things that would ultimately perhaps involve me in joining some kind of gang slash movement slash organization, and that I at 9 had to suddenly be very aware of that, not wanting to do that and trying to recognize when it was happening. And the things that I threw myself at were the ones that I loved from before: football, films, and a fairly hopeless crush on a girl called Catherine, who was much smarter than me, rather inspiringly smarter than me, always at the top of the class. But a friend of mine used to put it, something to aim for. And in a way, I mean, obviously without much life experience, I think you were holding on to those coping mechanisms. How can I make it the same? How can I not be, you know, carried away by this change that is unsettling everything, from literally the moment I leave my front door, I am reminded that what used to be settled is no longer settled. There isn't a pavement anymore. When you have that sort of living metaphor in your life every day, I think then then you're going to all of your default steadiers, and mine were football and movies and romance.